Boom. Where are we at? We're in a
Soho!
Soho Radio. We're in a nice little podcast room, but we're going to be doing a vlog here. But we're here in London town, in Soho, and I wanted to mention two things. Number one, you just received your DLIT, which you're going to expound on because people don't know what that is. And you just got voted LinkedIn Top Voice 2019. Yeah! Woo! So, go ahead. I want you to explain the DLIT and say a little bit about your LinkedIn Top Voice. And how does a person become a LinkedIn Top Voice?
Which one first, DLIT or Top Voice?
DLIT, because I don't know what...
DLIT? Okay, people thought I just got lit, right?
You stay lit. We
so,
stay lit.
It's a Doctor of Letters.
Okay.
And it's a higher doctorate, so it's above a PhD. And they're pretty difficult to get. It took a lot of patience, and the University of Dundee, where I got it from, last awarded one 15 years ago across the whole university.
Where's Dundee at? Crocodile?
No. Scotland, on the River Tay.
Wow,
East Coast, baby.
Okay.
So it took a long time because the thing is, because it's higher than a PhD, you have to demonstrate these other factors like contribution to humane learning, erudite information, recognized and established expert over a sustained period of time. So I had to submit a number of articles, citation indices. I had to be examined by a couple of professors. There had to be a whole CV thing going on, and I had like a nearly 10,000 word narrative as to what my topic was. And
so you're sort of a big deal.
I don't know.
When was the last time someone at that university got a DLIT?
15 years ago.
That might be big deal status.
To me, I'll tell you why it's a big deal, because the title that I submitted was Being Hip and Halal, The Just Balance and the Floating World. So in that title, Hip and Halal I was just referring to like this coolness or interest that people had around halal and how that worked in terms of marketing, branding, consumer behavior. The floating world is in reference to Japanese Edo period woodblock prints, and just this idea that there are a collection of paintings that talked about whether consumerism was a pleasureful life or a sorrowful life. I don't know if pleasureful is a word, actually. I'm really tired today. But whether like that kind of sedentary life is pleasure or sorrow. And the just balance was, in reference to Imam Ghazali writing about just how you arrive at conclusions through debating and polemics. So I want to bring everything together and just basically look at halal and why it's good. I like it because, like, originally when I wanted to do my PhD, I wanted to do it on halal branding.
Okay.
I did it in global branding, but at the time, a lot of the people that I approached said that it wasn't a topic. As in, it wasn't an appropriate topic. So to me, the biggest victory is that over the past 10 years, I've been able to convince people that halal and halal branding is something which is real, and there are more people researching it, citing my work, doing PhDs now. So I think, perhaps my biggest contribution is I've made it a little bit easier for other people to research Muslim markets.
Dude, that's fantastic, man. Congrats, man. That's
hasn't
huge.
Sunk in. And on the other side, don't underestimate being a minority in Scotland wearing a kilt and just what that means to kind of my family. Like, I kind of felt Scotland accepted me a little bit more, right?
That's cool,
and so that was cool.
And then that's huge. And your LinkedIn Top Voice, man, for 2019.
Third year running.
Wow.
So hat trick. I was shocked because each year I think, they're not going to give it to me again because kind of, I don't know if that's the pessimism in me, but it's like, look, you got something, enjoy it for a year, and then somebody else is going to kind of beat you to the post. It was interesting because I take risks, or I take calculated risks, and so this is another situation where several years ago I got busy on LinkedIn because I wanted to step up and I wanted to get promoted and I wanted to get my voice out there because I didn't feel that the institution that I was working at was doing enough to promote some of my work. So I thought, let me take responsibility and let me find ways to promote my own work. And I saw LinkedIn as being a great platform for academics. And a lot of people just saw it as a place that you look for jobs. And so people thought, oh, you just want to find a new job. It is a good place to find jobs, but I realized that the best thing that you can do is to take time, treat it like a garden and build up your profile. And then with all of those posts there, you know, you've got to cut through. So along the way, just kind of taking risks, taking selfies, having a little bit of a joke, you know, emojis and stuff. I kind of found a voice where I kind of developed this balance where it became acceptable to express yourself. And by express myself, what I mean is I could be quite frivolous and talk about, like, you know, chicken and chips and KFC gravy. Or then I could talk about ethnicity pay gaps. But I just found a way not to kind of wear out, I guess, my identity and message, and to kind of keep it interesting. So I guess I experimented on myself. And I've learned a lot more about marketing by, rather than just kind of like looking at that company and saying, hey, they do that and they should do this. Like, you know what? The best thing you can do is experiment on yourself. Like, you know, if you want to learn how to get followers or likes or engagement, it's tough.
Yeah.
And kind of, I'd spent time interviewing influencers and comedians and stuff. And like when they'd say, oh, it takes 6 years to build a following to kind of really pop. Like, okay, I didn't fully grasp what it takes 6 years means, but engaging on LinkedIn, I know what 6 years is like, because I first created a profile in 2012, and I reckon I became serious on LinkedIn about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to see what serious meant, and kind of how you maintain that. Anyone can do one post and get 100 likes, like, and tell all their friends, their mum, their dad, their dog to like it, but it's really hard to do that every week
consistently, man.
Yeah.
And you're consistent on LinkedIn, so that led to it. And I think we may be on the verge of having our shortest vlog ever.
Yes. Yeah. So what I want to, you know what I want to
so
actually.
I think we can end it here.
No, because I wanted to ask you about something where you actually got me thinking.
Oh man, I thought we were able to get out of here.
He always tries to get out of this. You got me thinking because, you know, like...
Me? Getting...
No. Like, we see so many posts on social media, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, where people are saying yet another success, yet another failure, and the problem with this company is this, and the future trend is this, millennials are the future, and Generation Z, they're like this.
Generation Z.
Z, sorry. Yeah, Z. Sorry, JZ, I mean Jay-Z. And you made a really valid point that got me thinking, which is don't fall into the obvious traps. And I put that next to the fact that, you know, a lot of lectures that I do in marketing now, I feel like I have to delete the slides at the end of the academic year, because this year's been really tough. Mamas and Papas, Marks and Spencer, okay, they've gone through a rebrand, right? But, you know, there was kind of a crunch point.
These are stores and companies on this side of the, side of the pond. No, so people...
Mothercare,
okay,
gone. Thomas Cook, the oldest travel agent in the world, in history, gone. Like,
people are still trying to get their refunds. And
yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you know, not so long ago, that would have been held up as a great example of a brand. Yeah. And there are so many companies now. Uber, not profitable yet, losing like $6 billion in a few months.
Yeah, they didn't get a renewal here, so they're waiting on that. They think they'll be able to get it here in London, but
right,
yeah. They weren't.
So, for example, like, you know, some people will say Uber's a great brand because it's become verbable. Like, people say, oh, just Uber that, or the Uberization of the economy. And that was the holy grail, like, to do a wiki, to do a Google, to hoover your house. Just that idea that if you could get
into... But when you're dealing with municipalities, right? And London town not liking what you're doing.
London doesn't like a lot of them. Doesn't like anything. Foreigners, ultra-high emission vehicles, like...
Nah, you guys, this is a cool place, man.
It's a cool place, but we're like... No, it's crunch time. So...
I'm still sort of... How I did...
So my
thinking
thinking was...
this? I didn't...
You had a checklist of how you try to make sense of everybody's voices and opinions. Like, whether that's, oh, they've got bad customer service, it's really going to harm their brand. Or, like, this is a great company. Like,
I see.
So what do you do?
Okay, so number one, I think the most important for me is that when people share anecdotal evidence, it literally goes one ear, out the other for me. Like, that's how I really think about anecdotal evidence. Oh, well, you know, the people in my family, we really don't eat at McDonald's, so I can see why McDonald's is failing. Or, you know, the thing is about me and my brother, we don't really care for that carpet and that kind of style of carpet, so I can see why that brand is failing. Or, you know, yeah, we've never traveled to that country, so I can see why their tourism sucks. Whenever someone shares their own personal experiences with me or the experiences of people in their circle, I do not pay it any mind, because I've said this on many occasions to people. If your company based in London can absolutely murder it in Romania, you've got a business.
Yeah.
So that means no one in Poland's buying your stuff. No one in Finland's buying your stuff. No one in France is buying your stuff. No one in Morocco is buying your stuff. No one in Rwanda is buying your stuff. No one, but everyone in Romania is buying your stuff. You have a business. So my point is that if we go, oh, I live here in Poland, we don't even know that company. Or we're here in Norway, we've never heard of that company, so they suck. What I tell people all the time is, if they're a public company, go to the investor calls. Do a Google about what their last quarter did. What were their sales call? What was the sales call? What was their earnings? Did they pay dividends? What's their shares? What's the history in the past 6 months, 1 year, of what that company's done? Because time and time again, I've heard people share personal stories with me, and then when I go and check a company that I don't keep tabs on, and wow, they've shattered all analysts' expectations, and they actually thought that they were going to do only 10 this year, but they actually did 25 million. And it just shows me that what ends up happening now, especially in social media and algorithms, is that people are in their own echo chambers. So when you think that Thomas Cook is kicking butt, and everyone in your circle is saying, oh my gosh, Thomas Cook, little do you know that there is a huge problem going on. So that's what first and foremost, when people start sharing their own stories with me, their own little, I got to tell you, I don't care. I need to see what the numbers say, because at the end of the day, organizations, firms are all about the bottom line.
Are you as coarse with other people as you are with me? Because if I share an anecdote like, oh, I was in this place the other day, you're like, dude, sample of one.
Yeah,
you are one, but like,
yeah,
I have a friend who works in this company. So what? Like, how do you respond to people who go down that line of argument? Do you have a special...
So we have this supercomputer in our pockets, right? So when people start doing that, I start Googling.
Okay.
Right? Immediately, whatever company, Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh yeah, well, you know, everyone owns their own, you know, espresso machines, because Nespressos are killing it right now, and people don't like to go out because people doing Uber Foods, and me, myself, I've never been into a Starbucks in the last 3 years, and someone says something like that to me. When we're in a conversation, I will be Googling like the last sales call, Q3, Q4, you know, what's the stock's been saying, what analyst's been saying. I'll go to Kramer, I'll go to CNBC, and I'll see what these different people are saying.
So it's data, right?
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, numbers and the bottom line is what matters.
So I want to add to that, because I was reading something this morning where Twitter were talking, and it's reported in the Drum magazine, about the fact that next year is going to be really tough on marketing CMOs, because KPIs are going to become even more crucial, like they weren't already, right?
Yeah.
But the idea was that with economic downturns, and they call them vanity figures, right? You know, a lot of marketers were guilty of saying that likes and impressions and followings and all those things translate. So the point that I want to add to that is... and it seems fairly obvious, just because you have lots of followers or lots of likes or lots of views or lots of page impressions, that doesn't necessarily mean that people actually like your product or your brand, or they actually make a purchase, or they make another purchase, right? You are making assumptions unless you can show a correlation between those things empirically, and you can join the dots. It's really important. So I think, you know, what you reminded me is that when you're trying to work out what's going on, it's very easy for us in marketing. When I talk about people in marketing, relationship marketing, branding, advertising, we focus in detail on marketing, but we forget about operations management. or we forget about, like you said, finance, accounting. So you reminded me to also kind of zoom out and take a step back and take a helicopter approach to just looking at a business, because you can have a business where customer service sucks.
Yeah.
And who cares if you're killing it? But in the marketing textbook, you're the case example of, this business isn't going to do well because they have bad customer service. And then eventually people will complain on social media. And if they complain on social media, then you might not have a brand. Not if people think that you're good value for money.
Yeah. It's all about context.
Yeah.
It's all about context. And that's what people fail to realize sometimes, because they're in their own echo chamber. They're talking to a bunch of yes people and like, oh yeah, I agree with you, because we gravitate towards people who share our same feelings, our same sentiments.
Yeah.
But hey, numbers don't lie. And if you just killed it in Q3, I don't care what the world says. You're killing it in one region of your country or one part of, many cities, but just not this one city. Hey, just because you might have bad customer service, like you said, that was a great point, but it could just be bang for buck. Hey, I don't care if the customer service spits on me. The fact that I'm flying this flight for $15, I'm taking a flight for $15. Shoot,
I'm laughing that there's a place in Chinatown where they are notorious for being rude.
Yeah.
And the minute you finish, it's like, go.
Yeah.
They just want to make money, but their food is so good and it's well priced, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I want to put you on the spot, Uber.
Yeah.
Branding people will say it's a great brand, great marketing idea, but if you look at the finance, it's losing billions.
Yeah.
So
that's, look, I think to sum this up, there's a difference between PR, marketing, and making money.
Yeah.
Right?
Are they going to make money eventually? They make some money, but are they going to
autonomous cars
become profitable?
There's a lot of people entering into the autonomous car space, so that's very difficult, and that's what they're hedging on. But you have a lot, their shares are going down. They're having more and more problems with different municipalities. We see there was Lime with the scooters, a lot of different companies that are trying to enter into cities that were not prepared for their onslaught or for their for their wave. And if cities are not prepared, at any time they can just stop it.
Yeah.
So that's a problem by trying to be bold and courageous, is that when you're now throwing in slow entities, governments, when you're dealing with municipalities that can really slow you down with one change of the law, then your business is in a very dangerous situation. So for me, you can say whatever you want. It's a great brand. It's a great name. Everyone knows. But at the end of the day, the CEO is going to say, we didn't make any money. Actually, everything you've done for us hasn't resulted in anything, because we're using, vanity URLs. We're seeing the traffic from Instagram. Yeah, great. We have brand awareness, right? And there is certain things that we just won't be able to track because it's just inhumanly possible. But what it's showing at the end of the day is that we're not making any money.
Yeah.
So we've got to change things here.
So I guess what I would say to kind of wrap up is, you and doing the D-Lit reminded me of the importance of looking at things from 360 degrees, because I've now graduated 4 times, right? My first degree was from a science faculty. My MBA was from an art and design faculty.
Wow.
PhD was from business school. And this D-Lit was from humanities. And so that and what you were saying reminded me that, look, you need numbers, but then you need to fill in the gaps, and the humanities can be the glue at filling in those gaps and give us reasons or possibilities as to how we can interpret those numbers. But you can't just be arts focused, opinion focused, emotionally led, and you can't just be numbers focused, because if you follow the numbers like everyone else does, you don't have a unique selling point. Everyone reads the numbers the same way.
No, definitely.
So then you cancel each other out.
They need each other. But yeah, that's it. So are we done? We're done.
Hello, Soho. We're coming for you.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.
Peace.